Let me tell you, the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP, has accepted the withdrawal of applications from Senator Delano Whyte and Christian Tavares Finson to represent the party in the North Central St. Andrew constituency. This decision allows the party to restart the candidate selection process, including consultations with key stakeholders. It's a big story, and we wanted to delve into it this morning. And so we're joined by trade unionist and political analyst Helene Davis-Whyte. Good morning, Mrs. Davis-Whyte. How are you?
Morning, Richard. I'm well, thanks.
Thank you so much for joining me. And we also have with us political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Hi, Richie. Hi, Helene.
Hi, morning.
Good morning and welcome. Helene, let me start with you. Did this turn of events surprise you any with the withdrawal of the candidacy of both the applicants for the process to restart at this stage?
It hasn't really, because clearly there was some problem in terms of identifying somebody to succeed Karl Samuda in that constituency. And the fact that has come out, certainly from my reading, is that Karl Samuda had his own choice, and it would appear that he had not been consulted. I draw that conclusion from the fact that his own supporters were the ones who were upset at the fact that the party was seeking to, as some people term it, parachuting Tavares Clinton over Whyte, who seemed to have had some kind of support from Samuda. So I am not surprised. I think the party would need to be able to, bring some kind of order into this selection process, and the fact that both persons had been involved in some kind of dispute over the selection. I think both of them removing themselves will give the party the ability to deal with the selection process in the way that it should have been done.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much to sort of wheel and come again. The truth is, Kevin, I thought, based on what I was reading, that Karl Samuda had given his blessings to Delano Whyte. So for me, it came as a surprise when I heard about the withdrawal of their candidacy. What's your reading into what is going on?
And Richie, you have to remember, politics is ego, emotion, and logic. Logic only plays a minor role in politics, generally. So it is not surprising that people's egos and emotions have taken control over the logic. And of course, you have different factions in any political party. I mean, you have someone that thinks I control the constituency, I must choose my successor. But then Tavares Finson, who is his father, the president of the Senate, right? So you have different factions wanting their horse to win, And this is not the first time I've seen it. It won't be the last. We see it in both parties. And maybe Mr. Samuda doesn't want to. He wants to run again. Maybe he's changed his mind. Who knows? But what I don't understand is normally, I thought the process nowadays about parties where you take a poll and whoever the people want, you go with them. But I don't hear anything about any polls here. That is a surprising part to me. Why would there should be by now be a normal process. And I thought there was for both parties. But then again, you keep hearing this. Both parties, there's a poll taken, the people want this person and they choose somebody else. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. You think at this stage of life, both parties are, 70 years old and stuff, would have a set process, but apparently they don't.
Helene, let me get back to you. I want to zero in on what the voters maybe they're thinking right now, whether or not you believe, do you believe that they're finding this process quite frustrating, and what impact might this whole situation have on voter sentiment inside of North Central St. Andrew?
the fact is that Samuda has the reputation of being probably the only person who has switched parties and the vote has gone with him. So it would appear that he has some amount of influence in terms of what happens in the constituency. That being said, it would therefore mean that it could have some impact on in terms of voter turnout if the constituents, especially the party workers, do not feel that the process of selection was fair and that their views were taken into account, which is, I think, the reason why the party has sought to, as you have said, wheel and come again and deal with the process the way it should have been dealt with in the first place, which is to, have the consultation with the party workers in the constituency, because it is apparent that that was not done. And I would think the influence of Samuda is very important, and so his views would also have to be taken into account. That does not mean that Samuda's views should necessarily predominate, but certainly as the sitting MP with over 40 years in the constituency, I think some amount of credence would have to be given to his selection, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So I think that what they're doing now is what should have been done in the first place, and it would certainly have been tidier.
Thank you. Kevin, there are some who are of the view that this matter has been allowed to sort of drag for a little bit too long. If we go back to when the first announcement came some months ago that Karl Samuda would not be returning as a candidate, I think at the time his response was one of surprise, like, how did they go to the media with that information? And that was months ago. We really were not expecting at this stage, and the impending elections not too far in the future, that this matter is still not settled. Do you believe that he should sort of come forward and play a more significant role in this matter?
Listen, the buck stops at the top. The Prime Minister should have settled this long ago, one way or another. Call him into a room as a gentleman, ABC, or just take a poll, which would be the logical thing. I tell you, a lot of people are saying, Andrew Holness is waiting too long to call the election. About what? A month or two ago, we saw record high consumer confidence, right? Which can only mean the people feeling good, the voters feeling good. Drop the election as soon as you can. Why would you allow this to fester so long and going on and on with this thing? I think the Prime Minister should long ago have called everybody into a room. And if needs be, just a gentleman, if they can't make up their mind, we're going to run a poll, and whoever the people want, we're going to go with that. That would have been quite simple. And I think everybody could understand that. So in the end, it has to come back to Andrew Holness dawdling. I mean, yes, he's a Prime Minister, a lot of stuff on his plate, but you got to get your people in place for the election. So I come back to the end that Andrew Holness should have brought him into the room and sort it out. And if Mr. Samuda is having second thoughts again and wants to run again, and people keep talking about these politicians that wanting to retire, but you have to remember, in Jamaica, politicians are kind of rock stars. There are three classes of celebrities in Jamaica, in my view. You have the biggest ones are the musicians, the second ones are the athletes, and the third one are the politicians. And that's why I think a lot of them find it hard to give up the glory, because once you're a MP, your name is called, you're still, big man in town. Once you retire, people forget about you. So who knows? Maybe it's Mr. Samuda saying, boy, I'm still feeling strong enough and healthy enough that I want to go back another time. Who can tell? Mm-hmm. But in the end, run a poll, man. It's foolishness from the outside. In the end, it is what the people want, It's what the voters want. And that should be the paramount in everything. And the only way we can find out what the voters want is to have a reputable scientific poll.
There are some who are of the view that Samuda should remain and maybe midterm hand over to a successor who would have been determined by that time. Helene, do you see that as a possibility?
Well, it would appear so now, because there are soundings that he is reconsidering, bearing in mind what is happening now. So, it may be, especially the fact that the elections are supposed to be so close, that may be the best avenue now, if they cannot come up with an agreement as to who should go up for the party.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, can you recall, or Helene for that matter, by what margin Samuda won? Is it considered a safe seat for the JLP?
Yeah, man, it's a safe seat. It's very, very, very unlikely the JLP is going to lose this seat. Things happen in life, but it must have got probably 70% of the vote or so, at least 60.
Mm-hmm.
It's in that range where it's considered a very safe seat. I mean, Mr. Samuda, as Helene said, the only man who has won both JLP and PNP, and I think has held that seat for well over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Should be a shocker if the JLP lost that seat. So it's really an internal battle, and that's why I said, people watching can't believe Andrew Holness allowed this to go on so long before getting his ducks in a row to call his election.
Mm-hmm. There's one other thing I want to throw in before we close out this segment. There is talk that Lisa Hanna might very well be rejoining the Jamaica Labour Party and could be considered for the seat. Helene, have you been hearing that whispering going on anywhere at all?
I have heard that she is considering rejoining the PNP. I really have, the JLP. I really haven't heard that she is being considered for the seat.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, any whisperings?
Well, I don't know either, but I do know Lisa comes with a lot of backative. So, who can say? You know what they say? Money walks and BS. Money talks, BS walks. So who knows? Who knows in this world, Richie? I don't know anything inside, but I do know when you're backative, a lot of things are possible.
Yeah. Well, I suspect that we'll all be listening out to see whether or not in short order, because there's not a lot of time if we're looking at a September election for this to drag on or to delay the process. So would you say that you're expecting, either of you, would you say that you're expecting this to be resolved within, a week or 2 weeks, maybe?
Well, the simplest thing really is just Karl run again, and then as Helene, and have a midterm election, as you say. That will be the simplest thing now, because if either of them runs now, Whyte or Tavares, are going to feel like it's a split party, that some supporters on this side, some on that side. And, you don't want a divided front when you went into an election. So I would think the simplest thing is Karl run again, and we deal with this after the election. But who knows? As I said, I'm not an insider.
Yes.
I can only speculate. But I do know that people are saying, Andrew Holness, you're ramping with life. Get your ducks in order. Call the election. A lot of people on the ground are saying that.
Your final thoughts?
You so long?
Yes. Your final thoughts, Helene?
Yeah, well, I think the GLP needs to really settle this one quickly. Certainly, the elections are upon us, and they really need to settle it quickly. And if, in fact, Karl Samuda is willing to go again, that may be the best route out at this point in time. I don't think any other new person is going to have the kind of impact that Samuda would have.
All right. I want to thank you, Helene Davis-Whyte, and thank you, Kevin O'Brien Chang, for your thoughts and your time this morning. Have yourselves a great day. Appreciate it.
You too. Bye, Helene.
Bye-bye. All right. Take care.